Up next on Inside ChampCar, Racing Wide Open. Welcome to this edition of Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. The guy up there is Bill Strong, and the guy over there is Mike Gorman. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. How's everybody going?
We're doing good. Doing good.
Are we?
I'm doing good. I don't know about you, Bill.
That was a rough weekend, man. Lots of early mornings, lots of late nights.
Oh, poor baby.
At Watkins Glen.
Poor baby.
That was a long weekend.
But you're at a racetrack, man.
That bar stayed open way too long. You know.
You'll survive.
I know.
You'll survive. I have a migraine, so how's that?
Yeah.
You know, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Mike. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
First-time guests get the same first question. I don't know if you've watched the show. You might know it's coming.
Let's hear it.
How'd you get mixed up in this crazy sport that we love?
I've always been a car guy, and actually started tracking motorcycles. That was the first thing I did, was some kind of road course appeal. So I got a little bit older, bought a car, decided I was going to take a car to a track, and saw how much fun it was, and just being able to kind of push it without that like immediate fear of broken collarbones and all that stuff, and really got hooked on cars. So naturally, you want to start competing, you want to find that next kind of step to go. So started doing time trial with NASA Southeast, enjoyed that quite a bit. And then I had a buddy who had a seat that popped up in a Porsche 944 at a Sebring race in ChampCar, and said for a couple $100 you can come and drive this car in this race. So I said, hell yeah, sign me up, let's do it.
Nice.
And once I did my first wheel-to-wheel race, that's pretty much all I did is enduro racing from then on. So I've been doing predominantly endurance racing for about the last 5 years, and have just obviously taken it to a pretty extreme level, as you guys know.
What was your first type of endurance racing? The Lemons or us or?
No, it's ChampCar. It was a ChampCar Sebring race. Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah, let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's go right to one of the biggest racetracks, most popular, famous racetracks in the world. Let's get right to that, right?
Yeah, jump head first, and then of course it decided to rain, so it was a wet first race as well. So that was pretty exciting, but I survived, and kind of decided from then on that's where I wanted to shift my focus.
Very cool.
So when your first race at Sebring, did you do that in your own car? Or did you rent a ride?
No, I rented a ride. I had a buddy that they had a stint that was available, like a single stint in this 944 for a couple $100, and it was just the perfect opportunity to dip my toe in. And when I did, it's multi-class endurance racing at an awesome track. It was I was pretty much hooked from that point forward.
All right, so you started racing with ChampCar. Now you have like a 20-car team.
Bit of an exaggeration, but no, pretty close. So yeah, we started racing with ChampCar. I did probably 4 or 5 races as a renter. Had kind of mixed experience as far as never getting a second stint. Every car I was in kind of had a failure halfway through the race. So I kind of decided that I wanted to put my own thing together, and I wanted to have a little bit more control over the prep of the car and things like that. So we picked up a little Mazda Miata and wrapped it green. And we actually, our first race with that car was WRL did a 24-hour race at Sebring. So our first race as car owners, if you will, and our first car that we ever built ourselves was 24 hours at one of the most ridiculous tracks to try and run a 24-hour race. And
so
it went great. We never went behind the wall. We lied on because WRL, they run a power to weight ratio thing, and our car made like 107 horsepower, so it was below the minimum power to weight. So we're like 19 something instead of the 18 that we needed. So we put on there that we had like a quick change differential and like multi-piece rotors and all these penalties, so we could like take enough modifiers to make the minimum power to weight. So we did that, and then we finished like 5th in class and 23rd overall after 24 hours up against, you know what goes, their factory GT4 race cars and all that stuff with this little 100 horsepower Mazda Miata. So, and then from there forward, we went to Road Atlanta with it, the 14-hour race at Road Atlanta. Blew an engine, a couple hours in, swapped it in the parking lot, and then just kind of kept rolling. We ended up finishing the race quite a few laps down, but That was our first customer race, so it was very important to us to make sure that that car saw the finish. And so we did a engine swap in the parking lot, our first customer race with ChampCar.
So how'd you pick your crew out? Were they just a bunch of guys volunteering, or were they ex-racers with you and they just
So yeah, just referrals for Bradley Brown, who was our main guy, was with another team, AOA, but was very close to us here in Jacksonville, and a guy that you know as well, Gino Manley, kind of linked us up, and Bradley became the main wrench for OpenThrottle, and that kind of allowed us to be able to add on a bunch of cars and really start growing this business and being able to provide a lot of seats at a race and bring in 3 and 4 cars. So from then it just kind of snowballs. When people see what you're doing, they want to get involved, and unbelievably talented people reach out, and as long as they've got a great personality, we'd love to have them. We like to test everybody out in ChampCar. That's where we bring all of our crew people for their first race weekend. 5-minute pit stops, no pressure. Everybody can be nice and safe and learn as they go. And yeah, we basically just we run on a lot of volunteers and quite a few paid crew as well. And just pretty much anybody who's open to being up at 4 o'clock in the morning putting an engine in a car to make grid for the next day. We all are kind of masochists to an extent, so you just kind of have to find people that are a similar level of crazy. And luckily they kind of gravitate towards us. We love it.
So your original team name was Who's Your Daddy Racing?
Yeah. So before, obviously everybody has an attempt at going racing before they find their ultimate pathway there, and one of multiple failed attempts at trying to assemble a group of friends to do a genuine 3-person effort into a car, or 4-person effort into a car, and the split costs. And everybody that's done that kind of knows how challenging that can be. And unfortunately, you can, I've got a pretty long list of people that would probably agree that you can lose friendships over that type of scenario. So, we had this E36 that we were going to build into a car, came up with the name Who's Your Daddy Racing, and we were all going to go racing as buddies. But everybody's kind of priorities shift during that period of time it takes to build a car from start to finish. So we decided that this third time around that we were going to do this, if we're going to do it, we kind of have to go solo with it. And that way we can kind of control and make sure that this gets done. So that's what we did. And then that Miata became that chariot for us, that first one.
So why did you choose the Miata? Sorry, Brian, I keep interrupting you.
It's okay.
I mean, why reinvent the wheel? They're great cars. They're cheap to run, relatively speaking, and they're good and reliable. It's a pretty straightforward formula that a lot of people have been running. You don't have to try and discover anything, so to speak. You kind of take an already proven recipe and make it your own. So that Miata worked really well for that, and it was an easy car to replicate. So we kind of hit copy and paste on it, and next thing we know, we've got 4 Mazda Miatas running for 24 hours at VIR.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So was this thank you, Bill. Thank you for allowing me to step in. No. So for you guys, was this a if you build it, they will come, or did they come and then you build it situation? Not everybody not everybody puts 4 racetracks on the track every weekend.
Yeah, it's if you build it, they will come. That's exactly what it was. So we started out obviously with 1 Mazda Miata, and then we had my wife's daily driver, which was the E92 M3 that you guys saw at Watkins, the 63 car Hulk. That was actually our second car. So we had a pretty wide stretch between our entry level A-class Miata and what was at the time a WRL GTO BMW M3. So then we just kind of wanted to make more of those Mazda Miatas and stick with that same platform. If you have 3 or 4 of that same car, it makes it a lot easier to have all the spares that you need on hand and everything like that. So, if you build it, they will come. We decided that we want to bring as many green cars as possible to as many races for like a solid year or so. So people couldn't help but see us all over the place and couldn't help but see us hopefully having a good weekend. And that would kind of drive the phone calls, if you will. So that's kind of exactly what happened.
Right. So I've done the math. When you go from 1 car to 2 cars, it's not that much difference per weekend, besides the cost of the car. And the logistics aren't that much different for 1 car to 2 cars. How big of a difference, though, is it when you get the 4 cars? from a logistics and money standpoint.
Yeah, there's still the return on the investment. Obviously, your fixed costs as far as your crew and all of that stuff, and getting there is relatively the same. I mean, your second truck to tow up is obviously double in fuel and all of that. So yeah, bringing 4 cars up to Watkins is $2,000 in truck fuel.
Right.
And a couple people running those trucks there and back. But we run pretty efficient for moving that many cars. Kind of across the country. We're using an older Ford F350 pickup truck for the first year and a half. We've just added another a little bit newer Ford F350 pickup truck, which makes it quite a bit easier to tow that big old hauler.
Sure.
That 6-liter was kind of struggling going up the mountains and stuff like that. So now we could go faster than 35. So now, yeah, we tow a little open trailer with the extra cars on it and all the gear and everything like that in the big enclosed trailer. But yeah, it's my wife is unbelievable at this ridiculous logistical Tetris game that is packing up everything you need, because it's not just the cars. I mean, there's the hospitality aspect of it. There's a lot of moving pieces to bring in 4 cars to a racetrack to entertain 20 drivers or 16 drivers and 10 crew people, and yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces to that. So yeah, it's the second car pays for the first car, as people say. It allows the people to drive in that first car. But the economy of scale definitely works in racing, and that's kind of how we've been able to make this work as a business, is by bringing a bunch of cars out and filling a bunch of seats.
So
Kyle Fegley's complaining again.
And
whoever was driving the E46 pulled some BS moves on him Sunday.
Oh
Saturday.
boy.
Pixar didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's the ultimate flex.
Yeah, you get in front of Kyle, and because he's a quick driver.
Yeah,
you get in front of Kyle, who knows?
Yeah, you can't please everybody, and honestly, over the course of 14 hours of racing with 4 cars, running it all the time, we're statistically, just like there's more Toyota Camrys in a body shop, that doesn't mean they wreck more. There's just more of them out there.
Right.
People tend to see our cars out there, and I think overall, people would have positive things to say about our drivers. We start that conversation well before the race weekend. Want to make sure everybody has the right headspace going into it, and know that for the most part we're racing against a racetrack and a clock. We just want to not get in anybody's way. Nobody likes a broken race car, and we've got plenty of video on our end from people doing some pretty boneheaded moves too. So
yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember at NCM, we had a guy merge basically out from basically picture merging from the shoulder of an interstate and took out our entire drivetrain of a car. So it goes both ways, I guess.
You said
it's like what's behind me doesn't matter anyway.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Except for when you're merging out onto a hot race.
Yeah, that's right.
You said the second car pays for the first car. So do you keep one of the 4 for you and some buddies? Is that how you do it?
So the original plan, that we had was basically to run 2 cars,
right.
2 Mazda Miatas, so we could rent out the seats in the second Mazda Miata to pay for us to all go racing. And then we decided that there was a lot of drivers that were interested in what we were doing, and
right.
we were able to fill more cars. And then that's kind of when that goal or approach to how we ran OpenThrottle shifted.
Yeah. It's also good, though, when you run a 1 car for yourself, even if you have the other 3 cars, that if one of them fails, you can still get your customers into the one of the cars that didn't finish to get them their stuff.
We do that quite a bit. So, oftentimes if a race is, not like a 18-hour away or Watkins Glen, 90% of the time we're going to bring a completely ready to go logbook backup car. We know that stuff happens, and we don't want to end a weekend for somebody because of another driver's incident. And I think anybody that's spent enough time in a ChampCar paddock has seen our team there at 2:00 in the morning getting something put back together. But sometimes you can't do that, and we like to bring a backup car for that. I've had kind of a rough go at it the last 2 races for myself personally driving. My stint has been given up to make up for some seat time that was lost. But that's just kind of the name of the game. So this weekend, I'm actually going to do like a little extracurricular race where we just go and have fun up at VIR with AER. We've never run that series before, so we're going to go check it out for fun. So it is definitely difficult to try and schedule drive time for yourself, and obviously there's just kind of a lot going on in a weekend when you're choreographing 4 separate cars running 4 separate races all under the same tent. So yeah, it's bringing the multiple cars. It does make it a lot easier to split up. If
Sure.
a car goes down, one driver from each into the other cars. Everybody that's in that car is going to understand because they would want the other car to do the same if they were in that position. So, but luckily we don't have to do that often. We have a pretty solid track record for not having things we can't recover from mechanically during a race.
So one of the big questions that we get, or that I get, and I think other race directors get it too, was that you get a team that they have 4 or 5 guys on it. They've been racing. 1 or 2 guys decide, I'm done. I'm going to go on golfing or some other stupid thing like that.
Hey.
Now I want to continue on and race, but I got to bring in some renters. Now, how do I cover the cost of my vehicle? Or how do I keep a guy from wrecking it? Or how do I get the money back for something that happens out there? How do you
you can't prevent somebody from wrecking your car, obviously, and probably the best piece of advice is to not use a car that you're tremendously emotionally attached to. You do have to look at them as assets and income producing assets. So separating that personal relationship with the car was really tough because I've been a car guy forever, and like I said, the M3 was my wife's daily driver. We had that thing as a street car for 6 years before it became the Hulk, and you just kind of have to separate that and then protect yourself with a rental agreement. So we get every driver to sign a rental agreement. It kind of highlights out some of the damage, and ultimately that they, regardless of fault, are responsible for damage that occurs. And the way it was explained to me the first time I signed it, well, if you're at a track day and somebody blows through a braking zone and slams into your car, ultimately you're the one that's responsible for it. So it's no different when you're in our car. And that same kind of scenario happens. So I imagine if somebody were to burn us on some damage, it would obviously, that word would get out there relatively quick, and it'd be very difficult for them to find a seat in the future. And it's a lot easier to just pay a bill than try and start an endurance team. So there's not a lot of incentive for somebody out there to burn us, and we haven't had that happen so far. I mean, we've had scenarios where we've had to work out payment options for people and stuff like that, which were, as long as they have the intent of making us whole, we're still gonna remain friends after putting some damage in our car.
So you don't take it.
We've done the same thing with the crash damage. It was like there were some big bills, and it's like there's no way I could pay a bill like that. Coming out a few grand for whatever.
I always joke that if I wrecked one of my M3s, we would just have one less M3. I can't afford to fix that thing.
But yeah, it's right now. Kyle, Clive Bogle asked, how big is the crew for 4 cars?
It depends on the duration of the race. It also kind of depends on the horsepower of the people that we're bringing. If we have a group of what I would call like entry level mechanics, people that can help with doing pads, rotors, stuff like that, but aren't going to do the real heavy lifting, then we'll typically have to have a few more people. So I think we had I want to say 6 at Watkins Glen for 4 cars. 6 to 7 for Watkins Glen for 4 cars, but for like VIR 24, for example, to run 4 cars, we need about 14 crew people to do that. Because so while some of us don't sleep for that 40-hour stretch, you can't really ask that of everybody. So you have to run shifts and kind of rotate people out. I guess not everybody wants to sit in the same place for 24 hours straight. There's definitely a few of them. Right. But yeah, it's usually between 1 to 1.5 crew people per car.
Yeah, I always found that sales pitch difficult. So we want you to volunteer to come to a racetrack for 40 hours, not sleep, probably not eat prime rib. It could rain. It could snow. You could get a sunburn.
Bug.
Yeah, you might eat some bugs while you're there. And we're not going to pay you. So come on and join us. That's a tough sales pitch sometimes, right?
We have a hot dog roller that we run for the full 24
I'm
hours.
in.
So that kind of takes care of about half of that.
You buy a plane ticket, I'm in.
Yeah, see, that's how easy that was.
I love it.
No, it's
rolling a popcorn machine. That's it.
We're all obviously, like I said earlier, a bit of masochists, and we all really love doing this, and that's kind of why we're able to find these people. And a lot of it is young people fresh out of college. UNOH is surprisingly like half of our crew comes from that one college. and it's mostly by coincidence. And yeah, it's the if you feed them, give them a place to be horizontal at night, and give them some bucks for beer when they get home. People tend to want to be in a paddock with a bunch of friendly folks. And my wife, who runs the hospitality, they're for sure eating really, really good. We haven't done a prime rib yet, but her cooking is absolutely top notch, and I think that's probably why more than half of them come back to do it again.
Federhund says, essentially, thank you for bailing them out of the Daytona in 23 with some spare parts. Considering you run a lot of Mazdas, and it sounds like some BMWs, and that's like 90% of what's running in ChampCar these days. Do you get a lot of people knocking on the door saying, help, we need parts?
Yeah, between, I'd say, probably 4 to 10 times per race.
Sure.
We'll have somebody come in and looking for something, and more than half the time, I would say we have it, and we bring multiples. We always joke that we bring enough spares for most of the paddock to finish. And yeah, we might even start like a little lucrative side business of selling parts at endurance races. But yeah, we've been the ones asking plenty of times. I mean, we borrowed a welder and some other stuff this weekend. So endurance racing it's a community effort. I mean, we're all battling against the same evil of time and attrition, and it takes a village to get through those races. So if we've got one or two of a part and you guys need it, you're more than welcome to it. If you don't replace it, just compensate us for it. And we do have a general rule of thumb: if we give you something that we only have one of and we need it, you have to immediately pit and take it off of your car. That is the rule. And 100% of the time we have people agree. And we've actually only had to do that one time, but we did have to pull somebody in. I can't remember what it was. But we had to pull, I think it was an axle or something like that. We had to pull somebody in and get the part off.
Wait. We don't care about the cars. Wait a second. You guys have bacon?
Do you not look at we post pictures all the time. We have pounds and pounds of bacon.
Oh.
My wife makes these incredible breakfast sandwiches and breakfast burritos. You haven't spent a whole lot of time on pit lane in the morning if you haven't come by and gotten one.
I'm busy setting up cameras and setting up
that's fair.
power.
That's fair.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hot dogs,
pit marshals, they're delicious.
Hot dogs and bacon. I'll pay my own plane fare to get there.
See, again, this is how this generally works.
I love it.
So yeah, it's the hot dog roller that typically comes out on the long night races. We'll have that for sure at Sebring in that 12-hour overnighter. We'll have the glizzy machine rolling. So whatever our garage number is, come by. We'll have a little tip jar there. Take a glizzy out of the machine. If it's the last one, you got to refill it.
So,
yeah. That's the way it works.
It sounds like you race on several different series. What keeps you coming back to ChampCar?
It's fun. I mean, it's a really fun series. The level of barrier of entry, so to speak, is fantastic for transitioning drivers. We do a lot of driver development. So we'll take people that have a goal of getting into endurance racing, but maybe don't have the experience with it. And we have kind of track day versions of all of our race cars that we regularly build people up with coaching and data overview with them, and kind of turn them into a driver that's ready for moving to that next step. So yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we have that start to finish kind of clear path, for everybody.
So Mike, you brought up some. We were talking earlier before the show started, and you brought up some really good ideas for us. I usually ask our guests, off camera, what do you think of the logs we're doing? What are the other things? What kind of what recommendations do we have to improve communications of teams? I don't ask every person that, but
right.
I ask you that. And you mentioned something about WRL does a radio broadcast out to the teams.
Yeah. So
getting ready to go back to yellows or whatever.
Yeah, so basically WRL, what you guys have done with using their race log
I asked them
structure for their race log.
And RJ said, "Yeah, go ahead, have fun with it."
Yeah, it's a phenomenal tool. But what they also do is they have a broadcaster, so to speak, a race control broadcaster that will display or will say car off in turn 7, stay drivers right. We've got boots on the ground here, and here on the track. And it just really kind of, you guys are our eyes to be able to relate to our drivers what the track conditions are. And the instantaneous aspect of them doing it on the broadcast it just makes it so much easier to direct your drivers for, especially, boots on the ground scenarios where we want them to stay a particular side of the track. You want to make sure that they have that info as quickly as possible. So there's a scan option on the radio, and you just program your frequency to the race control frequency, and it's fantastic. We love having that in WRL.
Yeah, I like that idea, and a part of it is like this past weekend, Chelsea and I were up in the tower with Troy, and we're watching a car that was going a bit slow. He wasn't going extremely slow; he was just going a bit slow in some parts of the track. And we're like, how do we get him to speed up? Basically it's like, okay, call down to a pit marshal. Of course, the pit marshal's down at pit 1, but we need to have
right.
to go
half a mile away,
172 and say, hey, speed up your car. By the time we get down there, we've already hit the checkered flag. So
correct.
How do we get this information to him quick? And we had tried doing some phone calling stuff in the past, and it's like, again, you've got to keep a list. Guys have to have their phones on them. They got to be there with their phone, not in the car. I like the idea of doing the radio. I think at Autobahn coming up, I'm going to do a small experiment, and we'll let you guys all know. I'll put the info. It may not go in the SUPs because this is all going to be unofficial, but I'm going to either bring one of my radios, which is a few years old, not all digital encrypted and stuff. So maybe that will work better, and you guys can just sit there with a scanner and scan and listen. So. Or if your radios go to that frequency, use them.
It's a phenomenal tool for keeping everybody on the same page, and it's a big safety thing, especially when you're talking about oftentimes hot pulls, or at least crews cleaning up an incident under Purple 35. You want to make sure if you are doing hot pulls that you don't have somebody barreling at 90% pace, right. Not aware of a situation that they may be coming up on. So.
Oh, the other thing I just thought about was that maybe, this is all thinking on the fly, but I don't really have any sound going out for the marching ants. Maybe a lot of teams are using marching ants on pit lane. Maybe I just do audio out to that and just mention that too. So. Yeah,
the nice part about doing it over the radio broadcast is, obviously it's a relatively loud environment there on pit lane. So it just comes right through the headphones. Right. So that's the real nice part about doing it through a radio broadcast.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll figure out. Hell, I could even put that. I have a way of actually putting the radio broadcast out to the show as well. So,
right. You could put it in both places, and people can get it wherever they choose to get it.
Yeah.
That's
kind of cool. Plus, you have a record.
I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah.
Send you the invoice.
Pass it on to Brian.
And I'll send it right to Chelsea.
Yeah. Wait, no, don't do that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that idea. Most of it is how do we communicate better with the teams? That was the big thing. During a race, because there's just times when we just, we want to talk to you guys, but we just can't because there's no.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I like that. All right. Next subject. What is it, Brian?
So what kind of a schedule do you guys run with? 4 cars? How many races a year do you hit? What's up next on the schedule for you guys?
We've got VIR, AER this weekend, and then we've got a split weekend with WRL in Charlotte, and then ChampCar Sebring through the night at the end of the month. We do 25-ish race weekends a year.
Wow.
Between about 4 series, and I think we have 8 cars or so that share that burden.
So is this your business, or do you have a regular day job that pays for the mortgage?
I did for up till about 2 years ago. I had a regular job that paid for the mortgage, but I kind of had one of those scenarios where I needed like 3 weekends off in a single month. I was in the car business, and that's kind of unheard of. So I was presented with one of those crossroads of do you want to kind of continue doing 2 jobs half-assed, or do you want to kind of go all in and bet on yourself type of scenarios? So that's, we obviously chose the latter, and we've been doing this full time.
Nice.
Both my wife and I for the last about 2 years now.
See, I just needed my wife to get a really good job so that I could just retire and do this full time.
Like mine?
Yes, like yours, Bill.
Yeah.
So I keep asking her if she's interested in a second husband, and it doesn't. She keeps coming back and saying, no, I can barely deal with Bill.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Ricky Buckholtz asked, do you prefer the 5-minute egg timer versus the AER style RFID? Now, just before we go to that, just to let you know, we had our tech meeting tonight. We talked about kind of getting rid of the egg timers now. So
I was wondering when you guys were going to realize the Flagtronics also has a timer.
no, we've known that. We're the one that said to do it. That's been a goal. That's been a goal for a few years. There's some tracks we still have a little bit of issue with it because the track, the racing surface, and the pit lane surface are really close, and to geofence that is rather difficult. Some cars it works fine. Other cars where the guy sits his GPS unit, I don't know where. It could be under his accelerator pedal because I'm saying that some teams do things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Equipment. That's equipment failure. It happens. So
well,
yeah,
no, they've done it on purpose type thing. So it's
oh shit. Yeah.
they
I
hide
didn't think of
those
that.
things, and they stuff it under the dash, and it can't see the sky. So when they come down pit lane, Flagtronics doesn't know where it's at. So it just says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I must be on the racetrack, or I must be in the paddock, or whatever." And then the thing stops counting, and then suddenly it gets a signal and says, "Oh, look, I'm counting, so I need to count," and it starts all over again. So
Yeah, interesting.
the egg
not
my
thing.
problem right now, but the egg timers, I think we're going to. I got to talk to Chelsea tomorrow about it, but I think we're going to start transitioning now, and it's going to be at select tracks because we still have to figure out the geofencing part. We can fix that, but it's going to require a bunch of money from the racers to upgrade their GPSs, and we're not going to do that. Just to put that out there. I think what we'll do is like some tracks where we know we have issues. Remember, we have 3 years experience with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some tracks where we know we'll have issues, we'll use the egg timers. So that way nobody gets an advantage the whole.
Yeah, we've obviously run into issues with the egg timers where either it didn't get started or somebody coming out of the car hits the start stop or like
or it
when
falls
we run
off the car.
Right. Well, in the M3, it's the, not to, pick you up, but the roof is carbon fiber on that car. Yeah. And every single egg timer that we got this weekend wound up in no exotic materials, right? That's the only reason it's an EC. So, yeah. But every single egg timer wound up wedged in between the windshield wiper and the hood, which is also right next to our fire bottle pole. Yeah. So I'm having to dig out this egg timer with gloves right next to a fire bottle pole every single pit stop. Yeah. And I thought it was kind of a matter of time. But yeah, I mean, the Flagtronics seems to work well. We haven't really been into a scenario where, that countdown timer on pit lane, or we haven't seen one where it wouldn't work to just eliminate the egg timers entirely. And then maybe, not even have somebody there at pit lane, like maybe just be able to roll into pit lane and the timing, you hit a timing loop and that 5 minute starts. But I don't know if that's something that's possible.
Ultimately, this, Flagtronics is going to be our timing and scoring. Just to let you know, I know that people out there know that we're moving to Flagtronics to be our timing and scoring. Troy and I did some. Troy was doing our timing yesterday or this past weekend. I was doing the Flagtronics. So at the end of the race, we kind of compare what he had and what I had. We're not to the point yet where I can add points to the system. You guys with the cheaty cars or sorry, laps.
Laps, yeah. No, I mean, that's fine. The 330 shouldn't start with penalty laps anyway, but that's the topic for another.
Yeah, it should be like 75 points to start with. So, yeah.
Yeah. But 500 would be fine. Anywhere near the Boxster would be good, but I digress. There's so many 46 like in the top 10 these last several races. But no, so anyway, to answer the question back about the preference of pit stop style, we haven't actually done an AER race. So I think I just read the rule book. I think it's a 3-minute minimum. We also race in WRL. So if you look at the pace of our pit stops, we're doing pit stops pretty much just the same pace as we do in WRL. And with our seasoned guys and the people that we driver change all the time, we do 3 jugs and a driver change in about 1 minute and 9 seconds. So we stay stationary for a really, really, really long time in ChampCar and just kind of talk about the news and weather and all that, what's going on. But no,
the hot dog roller.
I definitely we've practiced our pit stops a lot, and we do feel that it would be nice to have a competitive advantage as a result of being able to service a car quicker, or cars with a smaller capacity maybe having a shorter required time on pit lane, versus like a 25-gallon capacity car. There's a million different ways to do it, but what we like about the ChampCar style of stop is, again, it gives us kind of that educational ground to teach people how to do a proper stop without having that that hustle of doing a minute 9-second driver change and fuel stop.
Yeah, and I love doing those quick stops, but
yeah, it feels great. Feels great
with new guys, or even guys that just don't practice this all the time. It's great to have a nice time.
And also having the 5 minutes is kind of a barrier to entry kind of thing. If you've got to bring enough seasoned people to do a 3-minute or a 2-minute pit stop.
Yeah, we would be gaining a lap every stop. That's why we wanted it to be like that.
Right.
But no, we totally understand why the 5-minute thing's in existence. So it just evens the playing ground, which we're all about.
Sure.
So you've got so this past week at Watkins Glen, Saturday we ran the Code 35s, and after seeing some responses on the web, not that I don't want to see any more responses from you guys on the web. It was all Code 35. Well, it was, but the Code 35s were for a reason. And there were a couple of them that the guys just didn't get into the point where we could do a hot pull. And we started to do a hot pull, but somebody got whizzed by a car. Yeah. And that just, then the track says, nope, we're not doing that. And Code 35. So the next day, Sunday, she decides, let's throw some curveballs. So we're, depending on the situation, we'll throw a full course yellow, pack the field up, and see what happens. And unfortunately, we had a red flag. So for quite a while we waited for the track to get cleaned up. And when we took the pace car out, packed the field up, and I'll tell you what, it just, I hair stood up my arms watching 81 cars going into turn one all at
awesome.
once. That was just freaking awesome. I loved it. I'd love to see some more of that. And I think we're going to depending, and this is track dependent.
Yeah.
Some curveballs in there. Now, it depends on which side you're on. That Corvette gained because of that bunching up the field. Yeah. And if he hadn't got that, that race may not have turned out the same way.
That's kind of the exciting part. I mean, that's kind of that element of safety cars, and Purple 35. And again, it equalizes everything, which is always a positive. But there's some strategic advantages to using safety cars and restarts. And I think kind of as long as all the drivers know how to do a restart together without smashing everybody up, I think that we can continue to move in that direction. As a car owner, I kind of love the neutralized aspect of a Code 35 and the nice resumption of a race, versus basically a second race start, which are always kind of the higher anxiety moments when you've got, $70, $80, $90, $100,000 of cars circulating at one time. I see both sides of it, and I really, really, really would like to see a heavier mix of using, full course cautions and safety car restarts.
Yeah, we're gonna play it up, I think, but I
think it's also track specific.
I know Jacob Hiller freaking hates the Code 35.
Yeah. He's a strategy guy. That's why.
Yeah. So I mean, but there's some that do the strategy and they like it because usually they're at the front of the pack, but they like it. But I kind of like that playing the pace car, but the pace car just takes some of the tracks we go to. It takes so long to pick up the leader,
right?
And then once we have to get everybody down to speed. So once you get them down to speed, then the safety people can go out.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be well choreographed. Everybody kind of has to be on the same page with that.
Yeah. A lot of it also has to do with the length of the track. You put a safety car out at Road America, and it could take you 3 laps to bunch the pack up
before you can
out.
Right.
They won't send anybody out until the field is packed.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So you just, and it's not as important in my mind, for endurance racing because you've got 14 hours. But what we
Right.
do in SCCA is sprint racing, and if you're going to lose 3 laps just packing up the field, that could be a third of the race.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
Yeah, it's tough, and it's one of those things that we have to play by ear, and we're gonna play it up. I mean, it's kind of cool, with Chelsea and and some others within our group. And how can we make this interesting? Because we do the same thing every race, and
Yeah. That
kinda-
ChampCar is an awesome series, and you guys are in a really good position. As far as the market goes, you're definitely a great entry level series, and you gotta continue to do cool stuff like that to keep everybody stoked and coming out to do these long ass weekends with you guys.
yeah, it's kind of cool. Chelsea working at IMSA, and her boyfriend or her fiance races in WRL, and he comes.
Yeah.
To work. So we get to hear, I can't believe you guys allow people to do that. That kind
Right,
of
right.
But it's
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, if we've been doing it forever, should we be doing that? Or
Yeah. It's always good to kind of take a look at that and self-reflect, and also just look at what other series are doing, and not just what they're doing, but kind of why they're doing it in that direction. And things like Friday qualifying and stuff like that, to maybe get the field in a little bit of a different order for a race start. And there's a lot of different cool things that come from being involved with 4 or 5 different organizations. You can say, hey, this is what these people do, and we kind of like it. Check it out.
I think next I think everybody has to have a float on their car next, because I really love lemons.
Yeah,
So
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
We've run a cardboard trunk on. We run a cardboard trunk in a 8-figure paddock before, with Porsche GT3 RS on the back.
I remember Troy took his old, the green MR2, the first gen one, or the first version of the second gen that he did, the biohazard car.
Yep.
To, I think it was the ultimate street car at VIR. I think that's what it was called. And there were so many NASA people there, or maybe it was a NASA race. They were like, this car does not need to be here.
Right.
And there's $100,000 cars out there trying to racing against him and stuff. And he whooped on some butt, So.
Yeah, we've got this awesome shot of grid. We had a incident on Saturday. It was a wet race at Barber in WRL, and we had a 9 lives wing on the back of our M3, and it caught a tire wall and just ripped clean off. We had no way to reattach the trunk, but they wanted us to cover up the trunk. And I text RJ, I'm like, hey, we can't get this metal to work. And he's like, I trust you'll come up with something. And at that point, we've already made this like trunk out of cardboard and wrote POORSCHE on it. And then when he said that, I was like, shit, I trust your judgment. And here we are showing up with a cardboard trunk next to Porsche Cup cars and brand new $250,000 BMWs. But it's a pretty cool picture. We like it. We made it to the grid. We had to work with what we had. And that seemed like the safest way. Like I would rather have cardboard coming off than a metal trunk that maybe didn't get secured quite right after an incident. So
right. So what other kind of change, or when are you actually, first question, when are you going to move to a Porsche like everybody else? All 15 other people did this week.
We're pretty committed to the BMWs right now. Obviously our dream lineup would be, in ChampCar, a couple of Boxsters and run a couple of, D2 911s and WRL. But keeping a price point that's attractive to people. And, we really like the durability of the BMWs and the availability of parts and things like that. I'm a huge Porsche guy. I've had my fair share of them. I've raced them. And we've got a buddy who's got a 996 Cup car that we're going to play around with some this year. But the BMW just, it holds up really well. Now, if we could just get the VPI on the car right, but we'll keep showing up regardless of that.
That's the second VPI
we've been real
comment.
happy with that E46 BMW.
That's the second VPI comment I've heard tonight, Bill.
I don't know what he's talking about. Variable pitch instrumentation. Altimas. Why aren't you racing a Nissan V6?
Yeah, that's what we should do. We should change the fleet to a bunch of green Nissans.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. The thing is, the Nissans do really, really, really well. Leaders, who knows if they were or not, but yeah, they're fast. Not everyone is, but the ones that were prepared by folks that knew what they were doing, they were quick.
Yeah, they're good cars. We've got when we took my wife's 2010 M3 and turned it into a race car, we replaced it with a 2000 Nissan Maxima, and it's that's been her daily driver ever since. So for the 4 years it's been a race car, we have this gold retirement beige 2000 Nissan Maxima
Retirement
that
beige.
is definitely at
I
some
just
point.
figured out why Ricky wants you to move to those because he needs backup motors.
Yeah, he seems to have had a rough go at it, but yeah, no, we like those M54s and the BMWs, and hell, we were able to drive 4 hours to Pennsylvania, get one, and come back, throw it in, and finish racing on Sunday. And yeah, so we're gonna stick with the E46 and the E92s for the foreseeable future, and we just got an E90, or I'm sorry, E39, the 5 Series BMW.
For some reason we're buffering again.
I don't know why.
It's probably on your end.
Nah, this is on the YouTube end. So it'd be Brian.
Yeah.
All right, where are we here? Minutes.
We're at 46 minutes.
Huh. Yeah, you're buffering on me now too.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I think you there, Brian?
I'm still here. Yep.
You're okay. Now he's like froze on us again.
Yeah.
That's what's going out. And we were doing pretty good, then all of a sudden, boom, nothing.
Well, I don't
Must
know.
be driving through a tunnel.
Well, we're all on fiber.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on here today.
He's on cable.
I am not on cable.
Yeah.
Am I back for you?
Yeah, I think you're kind of back. So
okay.
It's up. Yeah. All right. So what's the plan for the next race?
For Sebring?
Yeah. Oh, you're
We're
doing
gonna race. Yeah, we've got a E46 and our new 5 Series is going to be debuting down at Sebring, and we'll be up at Charlotte that same weekend, running a similar format race, a single day only race with the other guys, with a bunch of BMWs up there. So the goal is to make sure that everybody understands that Sebring is really dark at night, but putting on shitty lights doesn't really help anybody, else see or help your visibility. So just focus on having some decent lights on there. And diode dynamics. Just if everybody bought little diode dynamics fog lights, the world would be a better place for Sebring at night.
I think Sebring as well. We'll have lighting at Sebring, and I think the track's well lit, except for 17 and a couple other spots. But to me, night racing is Sebring. It's even though VIR is just dark and scary and it's dark, Sebring is the right combination. It's perfect. And I love doing the night stints at
I love running around Sebring at night. There are just hopefully there's people that everybody gets their seat time in on Friday and sees the track for the first time out there at night for the first time.
Yeah. So, and we're gonna do a practice day there, and hopefully you guys can get some laps in, and yeah, it'll be good. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And I know this is last second. I've been running around trying to get things set up for stuff I have to do this week, and kind of fell a little behind there yesterday with the traveling. But we'd love to see you again here soon and talk to us about any changes we make. Give us your opinion on how we did.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we love the direction the series is going, and we enjoy being a big part of it. So
cool. All right, man. Thank you for joining us. Brian, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, Mike. You can go ahead.
All right, y'all. Take care. Thanks.
Cool.
All right, let's get this reset.
Maybe this will help you out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm still here. What else do we got to chat about, Bill?
Maybe if you drop. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to Autobahn here in a couple of weeks. Jackie, Andy's doing Autobahn, so that's going to be June 15th and 16th.
Right.
And let's see what happens here. Well, we had a couple seconds there where we had no data, but it's come back.
Okay.
It's really poor. All right, Autobahn 15th and 16th of June, 7+7 hour at Joliet, which is a really cool course. Then we head off to Sebring, as Mike was just talking about, June 29th and 30th. Nelson Ledges, we've gone up, man. We've got a few more entries. From what I talking to Fred and a couple other folks, we got 31 right now. We may be close to 35, which would be pretty awesome. Then we head off to VIR. As I said, we're starting to get some entries. We're up to 20 now. We need to get up on those entries, guys. This is a very, very expensive track to rent and run a race with VIR. I mean, when I say very, it's very. So if you guys could please get your $250 in, get those. If you're planning on running the VIR 24, get your cars entered. This will help show the board that, hey, we got a commitment to this track and we need to run it. And of course, it looks like we've gone dead again.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah. I think next week I'll run it and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're at 20 cars there for VIR. Then we head off to Thompson Speedway and we're at 4 for the 12-hour.
Yeah.
But we got a few weeks to go on that one. That's September or late August. We have where are we here? May 14th. So the next cutoff is the VIR 24, June 18th for the early pay. So you can save $200 off your entry by entering between now and June 18th. Thompson's is June 25th. That'll be the cutoff for that. And then we head off to Mid-Ohio, which is a big-time race. That one usually sells out. I believe we'll have a track day there for that one. I need to do the subs up for that. So I'll have those up here within a week. What else? Batteries.
Oh.
We got a lot of folks out there that they're getting a little lazy on their battery covers. They go through tech and they've got their covers on the batteries and
Right.
And either they come off or they put duct tape on it to get through a race and don't put proper battery
Terminal
rubber things
covers
over the
Right.
connectors. And we had a team this past weekend where their bracket broke somehow and the battery got loose and started a fire. And their battery terminals did not have any covers on them. So that probably hurt them too. Okay. They just saying weird buffering off and on, but it's pretty small. So make sure you get some battery covers. I just placed an order for, I don't know, about 50 red and 50 black battery covers that we're going to sell at Tech. Basically, you're going to slice it, put it over your wire and your cable, and put some zip ties on it and hold it in place and be done with it. But I think, instead of using duct tape or whatever these guys are using, because that just falls off.
Right.
Let's use proper covers. So those should be here in a couple days. We'll have them for the next race, but we don't need any more fires. Fires are bad.
Yes.
Bad. All right, folks. ChampCar. We will be, and I know, so we tried doing the board of directors meeting at Watkins Glen, doing it live. Unfortunately, I made some mistakes, and then I won't say who the board of director was. It had something playing in the background that went into echo mode, but somebody did, Justin. And so I have it up on the web now. It's not out there for you guys to see just yet. It's the quality of it, the sound is not good. I had some sound issues with a couple of folks that had lapel mics. But I was able to fix it. It's listenable. Don't make fun of me. I'm not a sound guy, as you guys know. But I will probably put that live. I think what we're gonna do is do it as a live program. We'll just put it out there as a premiere. You guys can watch it live and make your comments on that video. Any questions you have, we'll have some board members available to do that. I'm just trying to get, I need to get with the board and find out exactly when they want to do this. It'll be either tomorrow or Thursday. I'm hoping for Thursday, and the reason for Thursday is it's a good day for me to sit there and watch it and do stuff. 'Cause I got a lot of work I got to do tomorrow.
Right.
But but yeah, so that's something that we can do. And again, thank you for putting up with us. And thanks, Brian.
All right. Are we good? Are we done?
We're good, man. We're good.
All right. That's good. Oh, wrong button. Every race week. Nope, wrong button. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast. You won't miss any episodes. It would also be great if you share it on your social media channels. You can comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. New episodes every week. He's Bill Strong. You are listening to the Racing Wire Podcast Network, and you are watching ChampCar live on YouTube. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay safe, and go play with cars.